Check, check, check. Check, hello.
Yo.
Hello.
Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium, this is York's local sports show, talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
And welcome everybody to another edition of Game Day with GameTimePA. I'm Steve Navaroli alongside my buddy Matt Gould. Teddy Feinberg's in the house. And fellas, did you miss me? I was gone last week.
Greatly.
I did.
although Cardale Feinberg stepped up.
Yeah,
off
That's
the
that's really nice of Matt to say.
Well, Matt had to throw in his Ohio State
Of
reference
course.
because he is still relishing in a national championship that I said would not happen within the Big Ten. So I've admitted to him already, and I'll do it publicly, Matt. I was really wrong about that. So
You were wrong. Suck it up, Steve.
Yes, I was wrong, but hey, it has to happen once in a while.
Which reminds me, I have to check Twitter right now because he's making his announcement on whether he's going to turn pro right now at 4 o'clock.
I'll reserve any more comment on that. So.
Okay.
Nonetheless, hey guys, it's great to be back. You did a good job last week in my absence, no doubt. Although I only heard about 5 minutes of it as I was heading in to cover a swim meet. So, and there'll be a couple of those coming up that you'll be on your own. So I know you guys can handle it.
I think it was a healthy experience, but I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, good. Hey, let's give out some game balls. And Matt, let's start with you.
I actually have 2 game balls I want to give out.
It's plural.
And the first one, we'll start with the girls, and I got to give one to Peyton Hauk. She had the game-winning layup, just beating the buzzer at the last second for Northeastern. They desperately needed that win last night at Eastern York, another scrappy Division II team, Division II matchup. And that's a win that has playoff implications for those teams because Northeastern, you look, they've had some losses, but them and Eastern battling there, you want to get the top 2 in that division. Probably the top 3. It depends on what Biglerville does in Division III, because if you look at it, just to give you a reminder, the league tournament picture, which will clear up as we get close to February, because that league tournament starts right there last week of January. Or actually, no, I do take that back. It's the first week of February. The top 3 from Division I, this is boys and girls, make the playoffs. It's an 18 playoff. Top 2 from Division II are guaranteed. Top 2 from Division III are guaranteed. That last team is the higher playoff or District 3 rating between Division III and Division II. So it's going to be one of those two teams that finishes in 3rd place. Biglerville's been playing awfully well. That even though they're in AA, they're going to have a decent district rating that could sneak them into the league tournament. So you got to watch there. If you're in the third place team in Division II, you might not be guaranteed. It might not be a foregone conclusion. I thought going into the season that the Division II teams were going to have a tremendous advantage in there.
Right.
But looking at Biglerville, already with 10 wins, they suffered a upset loss to Littlestown last night.
Scrap iron.
It's not going to help Biglerville's case on the girls' side, but that team, could get in there. So we might just get 2 Division II teams. Still a lot of basketball to be played, but that's why I wanted to get the game ball to Peyton Hauk. Last second layup. I mean, that's some
And they
some
needed
heroics.
that win. There's no question about
It's
that.
some heroics, and also Peyton is a McDonald's All-American nominee. Now there's about 800 kids across the country, boys and girls combined, that make that. But you know what? Peyton is the only York Adams League representative.
Wow.
She's also the only girl from District 3 to
Oh,
receive
okay.
that nomination. The boys do have a few. Jihad Proctor from Harrisburg is. So is Millet Gantz from Bishop McDevitt. They are up for McDonald's All-Americans as well.
Well, and you mentioned that, and let's say, think of that Cumberland Valley team. That's ranked tops in
With
the state.
3 or 4
with
Division I
three or four
recruits.
Division I recruits, no McDonald's. So congrats to Peyton for that. Now you said you had another one.
I have another one. I have to give a game ball to Montrell Morgan, William Penn Junior guard. Scored 12 points last night. Granted, it was an 88-50 win against New Oxford, a game that we kind of expected to go that way, but it was big for Mr. Morgan because he reached 1,000 career points. Quite the accomplishment. He spent his first 2 years at New Hope Charter Academy. Really helped carry that team, that program, to a district title last year, and its last season was a great story. I don't hesitate to say this. He is the most humble young man I've come across in basketball, and he deserves that honor and that accreditation that happened to him last night.
Can't argue that, and good for Montrell, no question about it. Ted Mann.
I was actually going to hand the ball off to Montreal too. So obviously Matt said it all. Great accomplishment, 1,000 career points. We had a couple 1,000-point scores this season, but
Montreal being a junior.
Yeah.
No question.
A lot of times you see the senior. Maddie Comley was the only junior last season to get that. Reach that mark.
That's a good point, Matt.
She's been unbelievable too.
Right. And we had quite a few 1,000-point scores last week, but Maddie was the only junior. We've had several already this year.
And another junior, China Steele's a junior
Yeah.
that reached that mark. So we do have a few this year.
Yep, exactly. So I'm going with a bench player. Jeff Reynolds, Northeastern, comes
Love
off
that
the
call.
bench.
Love
And
that
Matt,
call.
you and I know Jeff from volleyball too. And he's a very good volleyball player, and I'm sure Matt Wilson is proud of his accomplishments. But he was absolutely clutch. Central fought their heart out in this game against Northeastern. It was a close game, but every time Central got to within 3 or 4, somebody from Northeastern bombed a 3. Reynolds bombed 3 of them. His shot is beautiful.
But Steve, to give the listeners an idea of the difference between you and I, this season you're saying, hey, what's that volleyball player doing out there playing basketball? Last spring I said, hey, what's that basketball player doing out there playing volleyball?
Just 2 different sides of the brain right there for me.
Right, and we won, in this area, won 2 state titles in which sport?
Volleyball?
Enough said. So, hey, athletes of the week.
Hey, which sport did he start playing first?
so-
Enough said.
Great athlete, bottom line.
Yeah, he is. He's really good, and a nice kid, too. I
Yes.
had a good talk with him after, and I actually caught his end of the third quarter buzzer beater on video. Second time in 2 years that I got him shooting a buzzer beater on video.
And we
so
could get
really
into
lucky.
a debate later I might want to bring up, but it deals with stall. I think we could have a nice debate about that. Props to Darius Brown, a sophomore who had 2 big dunks in Northeastern's 44-38 win last night.
Speaking of Darius Brown and those dunks, how about the photo Chris Dunn got?
Great. She got 2.
She gets a game. Chris Dunn gets a game ball as well.
Yes.
That's
great
a
call.
great call because it is a super shot that's right out front of our sports section today of Brown taking that one down.
She got both dunk shots. No question.
Terrific. So, athletes of the week on GameTimePA, and folks, this is Teddy does the nominations, but this goes out to your vote on the varsity blog, and female athlete of the week, a familiar name, Maddie Stoner, West York swimmer. She helped West York beat Susquehannock, won the 50 and 50 free, 100 butterfly, was on a pair of relays. She got 41% of the vote.
Russ must be thrilled.
He is. He is. He likes when I'm keeping track of how Maddie does in the pool, so no question about it. And Bryce Shields, Dallastown Wrestling, got the vote. He got 52% of the vote. Big performance there. Good voting. He got a big win. 11-0 major decision to clinch a Dallastown victory. So good stuff there. And Teddy, you got some regional winners.
I just want to say it's nice when swimming and wrestling get the nod. And we're so programmed with hoops. I do have some regional winners, Steve. Jared Starliper, Greencastle Antrim Wrestling. He had a very big performance in the Anvil-Cleona duels. He went 5-0. He had 5 pins at 285. It was second straight Saturday that Starliper went 5-0 with 5 pins in a duels tournament.
Hold on. Did you say at 285?
Yes, sir.
So he's a heavyweight.
Yes, sir.
5 pins in one day for a heavyweight?
Yeah, it's
He can move then.
That's insane. That's insane.
No, that is
Where's
insane.
Andy Neeson when we need him to
I
talk
know.
about
Andy
this?
would love this. I hope he's listening because he would absolutely love the fact that the conversation went down down this way.
No
Andy,
question.
tweet us your thoughts. We'll talk about it on the air.
Absolutely.
Great call, Matt. And then the second one, Alexis Hill, Lebanon basketball. She averaged 23 points in 2 games last week, but really the big deal is a triple-double, 25 points, 18 boards, 13 of which were offensive, and 10 steals. That's another incredible stat line.
13,
So she gets the nod.
13 offensive rebounds.
And 10 steals. I mean,
Yeah,
I was expecting to come up on assists.
There's only 48 minutes in a game.
Unbelievable.
That's a lot. That
Wait a
really
second,
is.
48 minutes in a game?
Yeah.
In a high school basketball game?
4 12-minute quarters.
No.
Oh, no, it's only 8.
quarters.
There's only
Yeah.
32 minutes in
Yeah.
a game. I totally brainlocked
Well,
there. Thanks,
You
Matt.
get your grade levels right.
See, I missed.
Matt, way to get in there, though. We got to correct it.
There's the thing. I missed last week's show. Obviously, we didn't have shows Christmas and New Year's Day on Thursday, so, I'm out of practice, guys.
I mean,
I just-
if she was an NBA player, that would have been dead on.
yeah.
I must admit, I just got a message from Chris Dunn asking why she was getting a game ball, and then I heard you say 48 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Like my brain is crossing. in
Nice to
three
hear the
different directions.
newsroom is listening.
That's funny that
No,
she.
she's at a swim
she's
meet,
at
unlike Steve today.
she's doing some photos for my Sunday feature, which I'll talk about when we're actually going to talk swimming in the second hour of the show. So anyhow, lots of stuff going on, folks. Yes, Matt's happy. Ohio State won the national championship, so he just did a fist pump for everybody that can't see us. But
So
remember,
annoying.
folks, you are able to see us on GameTimePA/GameDay. We are on live stream for anybody watching, and you're listening to us on WOYK. Also available at WOYK.com and the WOYK mobile app. I'm done promoing. We're going to go to our first break. We'll be back after this, and you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Loucks Road in York. Come visit us today.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate. The last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. And skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey!
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Putting the winning team on the field starts with a good manager. Murray Securus believes the same is true when it comes to all-star health benefits. And Murray Securus Choice Benefits Marketplace just made managing that call a whole lot easier. Employers can now offer a comprehensive benefits program that controls costs and gives employees the education and resources to be active in managing their health care. Designed for employer groups of 20 or more, Choice Benefits Marketplace gives your employees the power of choice and simplifies benefits administration for employers. Contact Murray Securus or go to choicebenefits.com benefitsmarketplace.com.
Hi, I'm Susquehannock girls basketball coach Dave Schreiner. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in New York, first in sports.
And we're back on Game Day with Game Time PA, Steve Navaroli, Matt Gould, Teddy Feinberg. And guys, let's talk some boys hoops out of the gate here. And I want to start with a couple ways I was going to go, but start with, how about Hanover? 11-1, unbeaten in Division III, which we kind of expected Hanover to dominate Division III. But let me tell you what, I got to see them play at York Catholic, and I know, Brandon, who's in here a lot, has gotten to see him a couple times, and he has certainly talked up Hanover, and especially Dylan Krieger. Well, after watching him play, he is a lot more than just his YAIA best 26.6 points a game. He's a beast.
He is, and he was the league leading receiver this season, and now he's the league leading scorer. And I'll be interested to see how they fare when they get in there a chance against a team like Trinity or Camp Hill. I'm high personally on Camp Hill in District 3 in that AA bracket. But I mean, you look at what Hanover's doing. It'll be fun. Like, we've had this discussion before, and Hanover is an interesting case when they play a team like West York or a Division II team. And in previous years, like, I remember they pushed West York a year or two ago in the league tournament, and I was surprised. This season, I would lean toward Hanover in a matchup like that, I have to admit. I mean, just because Krieger is seasoned, you like what Jacob Rhodes is doing. Yeah. They lost the point guard at graduation from last season, and that is something that I thought was going to hurt them mightily because I thought he was their best player last season, and they've done quite the job of making that problem cease to exist.
Oh, and the thing with Krieger is he's so good away from the ball. And we tend to think, okay, 6'6" guy's going to be a little slow, a little stiff in that. Oh, no, not at all. He handles the ball. He cuts to the basket as well as I've seen anybody this year, and is able to play with such a confidence. Certainly that height helps, but he is a whole lot smoother than I ever expected just from hearing about him but not seeing him. And I was obviously really impressed.
And also, I gotta give some props to York Catholic. The one that Hanover beat them by about 19 points, I think, when they played. But York Catholic has beaten everyone else that's in front of them in Division III, and you know what? I did not expect that. I mean, I kind of expect them to have that record where most of their wins are coming in Division III, which has been the case.
Right.
I believe they're 6-5 or 6-6 overall, 6-1 into division. But I mean, for Ryan Luckman to come in there his first season and for them to beat everybody they frankly should beat, that's solid. And to get a win over DeLone Catholic, I think that's kind of the difference there, because in the previous years you wonder if they would have beaten DeLone Catholic. Granted, Devin Moore not playing factors into that mightily.
As does Jake Wiles,
certainly.
But that's a great point.
But I mean, for them, DeLone is still still has a little bit of pedigree. Those kids have a lot of pride. They're still playing teams tough. So for York Catholic to be 6-1 is quite an accomplishment in Division III.
And you know what, Ryan is of a different mentality. I mean, he's not afraid to get in the players' faces, and we even see it a little bit during the girls' soccer season, and but it's like he has pushed a button from a passion standpoint, and it's I got to see him 2 straight nights at the Special Olympics tournament, and you could see and listen, guys, we may be a younger team, or we may be this, we may be that. Paul Martello is a heck of a ball player too. Andrew Forgin has really come alive this year, but Ryan's not afraid to say, just because we shouldn't, we still can.
And my barber would tell you the future is bright at York Catholic because they've got a freshman named Jaime Yor who's on the freshman team tearing it up.
Tony Yor.
Yeah.
Great barber.
That's it. Yeah. I knew Teddy was going to light up on that.
I was baiting Teddy on that one.
Yeah. No, Matt threw me a bone there.
That was well done. That really was a well played. So now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Northeastern boys. Unbeaten, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and this creates quite the talking point because we came out with our mid-season power rankings at the beginning of the week, and a York High supporter took me to task on having William Penn ranked second behind Northeastern. And I gave him what I think was a well thought of response, and I could get into it if you'd like me to, but I'll get your reaction first, Steve.
Number one, your response was perfect. I mean, it really was. But then I understood, his points too. And when you look at the schedule York has played, yeah, it's really, really hard to look against that. But the bottom line is Northeastern is undefeated, and they're playing so well. And I think that the argument could be made for both. I think. Looking ahead, that's the likely final two in the league championship. Unless it's going to take an upset for those two not to be in the championship.
I think
game.
These two are on a collision course for the league championship game. They are far and away the best two teams I've seen.
What was your response or your point?
Well, thank you for bringing that up because Teddy.
Teddy, I'm Teddy Steve.
Well, Steve was kind of hinting at it, but my response was this. William Penn has. I try to really illustrate this in the write-up as well. Is William Penn has 3 tough losses to really good teams.
Incredible
3 teams that I don't think anyone in this league else would beat as well, which is Reading. And Reading's been a different team. Reading has struggled as of late. So I think if William Penn were to play Reading again, it'd be a different story.
Great.
1-point loss at home to Chester. That game could have gone either way. 1-point loss against Capital Christian Academy, a school from the Maryland, D.C. area, which actually we'll get to see again because on January 30th, I believe, they are coming to York. They were regularly scheduled to play William Penn. They actually met in the McCaskey Championship tournament game over Christmas
So the
break.
2 teams will play again?
Yes, they will play again.
Interesting.
It's one of those situations where they were scheduled. I kind of felt like, all right, maybe I didn't know what this team was going to bring. McCaskey, I figured, would play William Penn in the championship game of that tournament. Lo and behold, they beat McCaskey, Capital Christian did, and then they ended up beating William Penn by 1, rallying to win that game, I believe. So, and that Capital Christian team, it's kind of interesting because the Impact Academy that's based here in York, David Archer coaches with some of the former New Hope faces, that team went down to play Capital Christian and lost by just 3 points. That shows you how far that team is coming along as a single-A school in its first year. So I want to give some props to them as well, but those 3 losses, you can say, yeah, they've lost to 3 tough teams, but either way you slice it for William Penn, they're 3 losses. Had they had one of those 2 games as a win, I think you could argue them ahead of Northeastern, but there's no way to argue against a team that hasn't lost yet, no matter who they play, and they've had some wins to back it up. I mean, the way they both played Central, I think Central is a good comparison for those 2 teams, for William Penn and Northeastern.
And you could also make the case, although it was funny because John Eister, Northeastern's coach, didn't really agree when I said, you're catching Central when they're starting to get warmed up a little bit. I mean, I think the Panthers have played better over the last couple weeks, and then he's like, no, they've always been good. He just kind of dismissed it. But
I agree with that because they have 4 now. Central has 5 losses. They're probably the 3rd best team in the York Adams League. But you look at those 5 losses, they had them in like consecutive manner. They had in 1 week they had a loss to Cedar Crest on a last-second shot by Evan Horn. Cedar Crest is
really good, though.
Cedar Crest is currently ranked 1st in District 3 for Quad A. They are unbeaten. A couple days later, they have to play Redline, and then the next day they play another team. They basically had 2 or 3 straight games and came out with at least 2 losses in that stretch. They also had a loss to Carlisle, which is led by a sophomore point guard, Deshaun Millington, who is a phenomenal ball handler and defender. Just a phenomenal athlete overall. He's on the football team as well. They play Carlisle, lose that game in overtime. You look at the Central team, that there's 8-5, 9-5 right now, but they could easily have just 3 or 2 losses.
Yeah.
And you look at how Northeastern played Central, kind of like how William Penn did. Took a pretty good lead, about 10 points. They were up by 10 throughout the game. Central had a little bit of a late rally to make the score closer. And so really Northeastern and William Penn, if you go on a common opponent being Central, played them pretty much the same.
I think it's a 1-1A, and we're going to talk more about the Bearcats after the break because I actually have an interview with Coach Troy Sowers. But for now, let's go ahead and jump to. I spoke with Jeff Reynolds and John Eister after the Central victory for Northeastern, and we're going to go ahead and play that now.
Yeah, I usually don't shoot that much, but I felt more confident today. And I felt my shot today, so I kept firing whenever I was open.
And
yes, seeing the way my team started, when we get a big run in the beginning, I get subbed in. I just try to keep the pace going, make sure that I stay on the boards and help out wherever I can. Yeah, the momentum and the atmosphere of the gym just fueled everything. it was definitely more special considering it was Central, and last year we didn't play that well against them, so it felt good to play good at home in front of all of our fans and everything, and show that we're a big contender this year.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of guys that can shoot. I said at the beginning of the year, we have a lot of shooters. I have shooters that didn't get in the game, so we have shooters that are hurt, and if it's in the flow, they all have the green light. Jeffrey's a good shooter. He shoots a great percentage from behind the line. So, actually, I don't think we shot that great tonight. I have to look at the stats, sorry. But I don't think we shot that great. Mike struggled from behind the line tonight. But he may have been the only one. So maybe we did shoot. As I think about it, he might be the only one that struggled. Yeah. Well, Central did a great. In the first half, they moved really well. I mean, they had us chasing them around, and we were chasing them around and not communicating, and not playing very intelligently off the ball. Like just basically setting double screens on our own team. So we played a little bit smarter off the ball in the second half. We wanted to put a little more pressure on the basketball. And we were able to get out in front a little bit and then hold on. So it wasn't pretty, but Central's good. I mean, they're as good as anybody. They got Charlie is a monster inside, and they got as many shooters as we do, really. They really do. He can bring guys in off the bench that just can knock them down. So.
And that was Northeastern's Jeff Reynolds, followed by Bobcats coach John Eister, who said some pretty interesting things, when you
wore an interesting jacket last night. I don't know if you saw, but he had a bright orange coat.
Oh, he did. I didn't
night.
see that. No, because the night I was there Monday night, and he actually had a sport coat on. A lot of times you don't even see that. So a bright orange.
Yeah, it was bright orange. He almost looked like Bruce Pearl at Tennessee. Wow. It was quite dapper, I must say.
John showing the personality, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you got to have fun with that team. It's been a fun team. I haven't gotten to see them since opening weekend. Actually, first night of the season, I wanted to see Northeastern, and I haven't had a chance to see them again. I was hoping to go see them last night, but I unfortunately had to stay in the office and work in there last night, so missed another chance to see the Bobcats. Hopefully, I'll see them again soon.
Well, obviously, second half of the season is just winding up in that, so I think that's it's going to be a chance to see a lot.
I just want to make a quick comment on John Eister. He wore an amazing orange blazer last night. Oh, did Matt just say? Yeah, I stepped out.
Teddy just walked back into this room, so he missed that completely. I apologize for the repeat.
I know. Well, it just reaffirms the point.
It does. No, absolutely. I mean, hey, ain't anything bright orange. I mean, that's taking a gamble, but Coach Eister got it.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Yep, good for him. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little more William Penn. We're going to talk more about the Bearcats, including a short conversation with Troy Sowers. And I want to talk a little bit about an intriguing Eastern York team that took Northeastern to the wire last night. So I think that's going to be some more we'll be able to talk about. So for now, you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA. We'll be right back.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Hi, I'm Daryl Henry. Join Scott Geis and me every Monday at 4 for York College Spartans Sports Weekly, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Each week, we bring you the latest in Spartan sports, featuring guest appearances from coaches and student athletes. York's home teams play on York's home for local sports. Spartan Sports Weekly, Mondays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on a brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm York High Boys basketball coach Troy Sowers. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Back on Game Day with GameTimePA, and Matt, let's talk about the Bearcats. And here's the thing, they
just after Troy Sowers brought us back.
I know exactly, and we're gonna let Troy continue this then in a moment. But I got to see them against Southwestern Friday night. 2 players not playing because of the brouhaha that you guys talked about. You guys addressed obviously last week, so I don't want to hash a lot of that out, if you will. It's already been done, if you ask me. So that being said, they're down 2 players, and they scored 96 points against Southwestern.
Tells you how deep that team is.
I mean, the depth was just unbelievable, and they're polished, and anybody who was coming in was doing a job. But Brandon Smallwood was just incredible in that game. I mean, there was nothing he didn't do.
And that goes back to a story I wrote the day after Christmas on why that basketball program has been a beacon of consistency for that city and that school, is because they've got a lot of athletes, a lot of talented kids there. But you know what? Troy Sowers and Clovis Gallen are the ones who have channeled that and turned it into something special.
Yeah, no question. And the funny thing is, because I think a lot of people are like, well, Trey Shiflett, he's not shooting as well this year. Well, that quote slump ended that Friday night, because his shot was just perfect. And let's go ahead and say it, because I know you're dying to. When I came back and I said, my gosh, Trey is underrated defensively, and you just jumped on me.
No,
go ahead.
He's not.
Yeah.
You can't say he's underrated when he already was known. I mean, if you watch basketball, you know how good of a defender Trey Shiflett is on the perimeter. I've seen it for he's a junior now, going on 3 years. So that was his calling card. That's how he got into the lineup in the first place for William Penn, a senior laden team 2 years ago. So, yeah, I totally disagree with calling him underrated, because he's one of the better ones.
But my point is, he's gotten the ink for these buzzer-beating three-pointers that he hits. And he's got a great lefty three-point shot. But I finally was like, I finally saw it, and I think it helped because I actually moved up a little bit closer with the new arrangements there. And, his on-the-ball defense on the perimeter, it's unbelievable.
It's funny watching some of these defenders. I mean, three guards come to mind. Austin Huson over at Red Line, who is just a straight-up great on-ball defender. He does not score. Shiflett has been a strump. Houston does not score much at all, but he makes up for so much with that defense for Red Line, and that's why a lot of their scores are in the low 40s and sometimes even the 30s. And then you got Jared Wagner over at Central York. Oh my gosh, what a ball hawk. I have not seen a game where he has less than 5 steals. And then you've got Shiflett, who, his big thing is he's got the length, he's got great hands, but he's a communicator. He knows the game, he knows the floor. He's of those 3, he's the one I see chatting the most on the floor, if I could compare those 3. And that's his credit.
It's funny now. You mentioned Austin Houston from Redline. Well, a few years back, the Redline girls had a Taylor Houston. Same player. It's so funny because Taylor rarely scored, but she handled the ball and was the best on-ball defender. So funny just to see the similarities in a brother and sister.
Steve, I'm surprised you didn't take the bait on me trying to correct your pronunciation.
I was ignoring him, Teddy. I'm ignoring him.
I definitely heard it. I was like, did he just correct him? And I kind of figured you did.
I was once corrected by somebody referring to Austin as Houston on a Game Time show one time, and I believe it was one of his parents that said
Houston.
Let me know. So I have that remembered in my head. It's Houston.
Okay. Well, you're allowed to correct me. It's okay. Matt's just...
I was corrected originally.
Yeah, well, Matt's just getting a kick out of correcting anybody else's pronunciations because he's been known to chime in with an Ephrata or something like that.
I ain't afraid to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, hey, Eastern York, kind of an intriguing team. Now, again, they lost last night to Northeastern, but that game was close.
John Rickard even said he thinks this team is starting to play better and better. And you look at they've got Brogan Nicholas is a junior guard, still really
22,
gets to the foul line, has a nice outside shot. But the intriguing one of this group is Jared Ochterberg. He's a sophomore. He's quite versatile. He can play all on the offensive set. He can play all 5 positions. I think.
Incredible last name.
And he's got. I had to make fun of him at the Donnie Schwartz Memorial Classic afterward. I talked to him and I said, you got that hook in your shot. It's kind of it looks fine at the free throws, but it looks awfully ugly when you're taking a shot from the elbow. And he laughed at it, and we both said, the only thing that matters is that result. And he's gotten some results as of late. Had 19 points when I saw them in the Sports Classic. I believe had 20 again last night. So he's had about 18 to 20 points in each of the last 2 games, starting to catch fire from the Knights.
Well, and what's funny is, Matt, you had mentioned earlier about kind of I think you used the word scrappy, obviously one of Teddy's favorite.
Love that, Matt.
Thank you. Descriptive words, if you will. But and you say another scrappy Division II team. Outside of Northeastern, that pretty much defines Division II. It's hard to call an undefeated team scrappy just because they're just darn good.
But you could call them scrappy with the way they play defense, and that they bring it on the defensive end. And they held Eastern to 1 point in the 4th quarter. Now, Chris Dunn, who I gave a game ball to earlier, let me know when I tweeted out, "Wow, what a defensive performance! They hold them to 1 point." They held the ball for about 3.5 minutes, played keep away. Some people like to call it stalling. I like to call it keep away. And this brings up an interesting debate that Theodore and I had last night. A couple other people I've had this debate with.
I'm Theodore.
Yes. and should there be a shot clock in high school basketball? I say no, and there's many reasons why. I don't think it logistically just works. I do not think it works because it's hard enough to get one person to work a game clock correctly. Imagine trying to find a second person who can come there for every game and do a good job with it. I think that would be hard to do.
Division III colleges struggle with that, and they have a shot clock that they've got to use, and I've seen it messed up several times.
More stuff to maintain. I mean, there's just extra costs, and heck, I saw it on Facebook comments already, people complaining about tax increases in the Northeastern School District. I don't think they'd be quite favorable to that money going towards shot clocks, would you?
Well, yeah, and I mean, anytime you're talking, athletic budgets, and at this point in time, there would be more money probably that the boosters would have to, raise.
It can be done at a lot of schools. You see Central and Redline with their new scoreboards. It can be done, but it can be done everywhere.
But no.
Could you imagine it being done at Fairfield or some of those
Right.
smaller Adams County schools?
No,
I don't think so.
no, and even a smaller gym. Let's look at a York Catholic. I mean, basketball tradition abounds there, both boys and girls. Where are you going to put a shot clock?
And also, if you made it 24 seconds, I've seen defenses in my lifetime that I think would make it hard for teams to even get in their flow of offense, their offensive sets, until there's like 8 or 6 seconds left.
I don't
on the
think
clock.
you can make it 24. Well, and maybe this is something we can talk about later too. Matt also brought up a very good point about teams will use it that I don't want to say they're athletically deficient is the wrong word, but they're not. Maybe they use it to counteract athleticism.
Well, if you're like, I always get annoyed when I see a team that goes to the zone and they're losing, and then you're upset that a team's not going to attack that zone. If you're not a good shooting team, force them to come out of the zone. I think it's up to the team that's losing to force the issue. So if the score is 36-25, a team's sitting in the zone, and you're a team and you just sit there and pass the ball around on the perimeter, hey, it's not their fault. They're winning. They've done their job to that point. It's up to the team that's losing to force the issue. Come out and try to force a turnover, trap, or something like that. If you get beat, it's because you weren't the better team that night. And that stuff happens. Now, I didn't see what happened in the Eastern York Northeastern game last night. It was interesting. I mean, because Northeastern is a little superior athletically to Eastern, but it's not to the point where Eastern could have beat Northeastern. They were up by 7 at halftime.
Right.
So it's interesting how these arguments go. But I'm a staunch believer in, hey, if you wanna stall or keep away, as I like to say, hey, it's up to the defense to come out of their zone. Well, and even if you're not in your zone and the team's playing keep away, hey, it's the team's fault for trying to play keep away and force a turnover. It works great for the defense.
And it's not like Northeastern outscored them 4-1 in the quarter. They scored 12 points. I mean, they did put up points.
From what I understand, if I remember the story correctly, they scored 6 points before they went into the tactic. Right. And actually, then when they came out of it, they got fouled, hit their 6 free throws, and that's
gotcha.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out there quick, and I just realized that I forgot our Troy Sowers interview, so I do want to play that before we go to break. But nonetheless, this reminds me a little bit of a conversation you and I had the other night, Teddy, and that is designated hitter versus no DH, the two different sets of rules, where I think you and I both agreed we like the fact that there's one set of rules for the American League, another for the National League. And we're talking the same thing a little bit because high school you've got this, college, NBA, now you've got shot clocks.
That's a great point. And unique. That's a great point. I want them to take away the 3-point line too. No, that's a joke. I like that.
But I do. I think that's one of the things. It's okay to have a difference in levels of sports.
Teddy, why do I feel you would embrace the MTV Rock and Jock 4-point line and half court?
I would love the 4-point shot. I would love the 4-point shot.
Wow, there'd be a lot more rebounds that way. Hey, let's go to my conversation with Troy Sowers from Friday night.
Well, I mean that's what we always do. So I don't know if this game was any more important than any other game. I mean we had the game on Monday and we had good practices this week, and that's just what we're about. We're about playing basketball. We enjoy playing every game. With these guys, it's just fun to come to practice. So honestly, I look forward to coming to every practice and game. I don't think there's one more than the other, but I like the way we shared the ball and played good team basketball tonight. We really looked up the floor with the pass instead of dribbling. And it was just a good team win. Everybody stepped up and did what they normally do. And Brandon had another double-double, monster game, 25 and 13. Damani had 10 and 9. Trey got on track hitting some threes. He's been struggling a little bit from the three-point line. He looked confident shooting the ball tonight. And then we got Montrell and Chris and Nate came off the bench and had a good game. And Jock was knocking down three. So tonight I think we just all played a solid role as far as what we bring to the team.
Was William Penn coach Troy Sowers, and we're going to go ahead. We opened the segment with him. Let's go ahead and we're going to close it now. We'll be back. We're going to talk some girls YAI basketball after the break. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Veteran coach John Zerfing takes his young Susquehannock Warriors in search of an upset at Eastern Friday night on the high school basketball game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Ruman, inviting you to join Andy Bria and me for the action. The Warriors' fleet-up underclassmen must find a way to put more points on the board and contain sharpshooter Brogan Nicholas and the Golden Knights, who are fighting for a spot in the league and district playoffs. Susquehannock at Eastern, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Bryce Shields of Dallas Town Wrestling. The Wildcats picked up a huge win this week over New Oxford, with Shields making the difference for Dallas Town, earning an 11-0 major decision to clinch the Dallas Town victory. The Dallas Town Wildcats are currently 6-3 overall, a 3-0 mark in division matchups. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Rebecca Isaac of Biglerville Basketball. Isaac reached a milestone this week that any athlete would be proud of as she scored her 1,000th career point in the Canners' 48-40 victory over York Country Day. Isaac scored a game-high 27 points, including a career-high 7 3-pointers in the victory.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm West York boys basketball coach Bill Ackerman. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
And we're back on Game Day with GameTimePA. And Matt, we're going to shift gears just over to the girls' hoop side, and a lot of great stuff going on in that. But how good are the West York girls? They're 12-0, and I think we felt they were going to be good going into the season. But wow,
I think what's impressive to me is that not that they had this talent capability to be as good as they are, seeded number 1 in District 3 right now in the AAA rankings, and of course unbeaten and atop Division 2 in the York Adams League. But John Schultz stepped down as their coach. They had a new coach come in, Daryl Wilson. He wasn't really much familiar with the girls. They actually did late in the summer. I want to say there was a late AAU event. Wilson is the AAU coach, and some of the girls from West York, including Carrie Langford, Emily Wood, went and played for him that weekend. So it offered a chance to get a little game time action with the new coach. And I think situations like that are paying off because, wow, it's been like the perfect marriage with Wilson and this group. And I mean, you watch them; they haven't lost any of that defensive tenacity they had under Schultz. They've been clicking offensively. Langford is still that you got to stop her from getting to the free throw line because, wow, I don't think I've been to a game where Carrie Langford doesn't get to the free throw line for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's usually how they beat teams, and she's still doing. So, this is a team that plays like a team that's been together for a while, despite having a new coach, and that's what I really like about that squad.
Yeah, and Emily Wood from 3-pointers, let's say from 12 to 18 feet. She's pretty solid.
Without a doubt, the best backcourt. And, I mean, they've had 3-4 years experience, because remember, they both got time in the lineup as freshmen for West York a couple years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, Wood shooting, but, and now, typically, and I know you helped me out a good bit this week. I typically do the girl stats, you do the boys. You were actually all over both a little bit this week when I was tied up with something. But it's funny just seeing. I mean, they're using a lot of players. They're coming in and out. Now, obviously, having leads all the time helps you be comfortable going to your bench. But bottom line is they've got a lot of kids getting it done.
Yeah, and you like just for example, Port York Suburban. Here's a team that's having an incredible year.
Oh, they've been so good.
Just 3 losses. 2 of them are monumental double-digit losses to West York.
Yeah.
One being in a holiday tournament, another being in league play, and they're going to have to play them again. So that just shows you how good West York is, and I feel bad for a team like Suburban because they've had such a great season, and then they have those games happen to them. So. You just got to tip your hat to the Bulldogs. And like I think I said last week, it's a team that's got something to prove. It's got, revenge, I think, on the factor a little bit. It's a team when those girls were sophomores. Sarah Shearer went down with the injury. He's now at York College. They make it to the league tournament final. They lose that game to Dallastown. They make a run in districts, lose to Susquehannock, win a last-second shot, rolls in and out. Disappointment of that. They come back last year, win another division title, but that's pretty much it. This is a team that not only wants to win a division title again, but they've got some gumption to win a league title and a district title, and I think they're a serious contender in all phases.
Well, Steve, last week I asked you about them, and you said their versatility is an incredible strength. They can play multiple styles.
Yeah. And they don't have any height. That's been one thing that West York's never had is height. They can still scrap with you, out-rebound you, and
it's a great quality to have.
It is, and you ask about the multiple styles, and I think Matt's example of Carrie Langford's ability to get to the free throw lines, because boy, she can, her speed, her dribbling, ball handling, she's a terrific penetrator to the basket. So they'll do that, and she'll dish inside so they can win inside, they win at the line, but then you got Wood shooting. And gosh, the name of
Ellie Stein and Sela
Thank you.
Furman are the two. Like
Yes.
when you talk about versatility, those are two that really come to mind, because Sela and Ellie, they can play on the perimeter, but they'll have games where they'll really carry the load on the rebounding edge, and that's what has gotten them going. This has been a while ago, but looking back last season when they first played Susquehannock the first time since that ball rolled in and out for them at Hershey, they won the game in the last second, and I believe it was Ellie as a sophomore, like her first start. She had like double digits, had a double-double, lots of rebounds. And that's kind of like what West York has really had over the years. They have a girl that comes up as a sophomore who can just plug into that, just, is not afraid to get a broken nose, if you will, diving after basketballs and stuff. And, and then you gotta give some props to Katie Tallman, too, because she's been in there in the post. She can really hold her own in there, and kind of like how Marissa McMahon did some things for Dover last year.
That's a good
I'd say
comparison.
Katie Tallman does the same for West York.
And Katie, if maybe there was something where she improved. I mean, if you remember, what I think, early on in her career, foul trouble was an issue. Which, listen, that's not a knock, because for somebody playing that position, that's a common issue early on.
And after Katie, they've got a freshman, Paige Weekly, who can come in the post and do some things for them. And she reminds me a little bit of Parker in the way she kind of goes out there and plays without any fear. So you've got some youth, you've got some experience, you've got kids that can play in the post, but it helps when your point guard isn't afraid to drive into the post too. And with Emily Wood as a two guard, they're the perfect complement.
And a ton of energy. I mean, that's always been an energy program. It's continuing again, and good for the Bulldogs. Now, another team that's always been, yet I'm not sure we expected them to be this year, but what do you know? Who's sitting up on top of Division I? I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but yet we are, or at least I am a little bit. Redline. Dimmy's got the Lions back again.
Yeah, and I was right up till about 4 o'clock. I was talking to Coach Dimoff on the phone, because here's a team that not only are they unbeaten at the midway point of the Division I York Adams League schedule, they've done it with first Cammie Harvey, their 6-foot junior center, tears her ACL playing AU for Dimoff.
Yeah.
Julia Kendrick, a starting guard last year, excellent track athlete.
A real good cross country.
She did not come out for basketball, but she wanted to concentrate on track. And then recently, New Oxford game. They had this last week. They have this brutal back-to-back. I mean, not back-to-back days, but back-to-back games. Wednesday with New Oxford, and then Dallastown that Friday night. And just to give you an idea, when the first district ratings came out last week, Redline was 4, New Oxford was 5, Dallastown was 6.
I like that.
Redline came out with wins in both of those games. But early in the New Oxford game, they lost Taylor Funk, their other returning starter, along with guard Courtney Dimoff, to an ACL injury. She was defending a cross-court pass that was put up for a shot, came down funny, non-contact, for ACL. So they lose her. So not only do they lose her, but they hold on, beat New Oxford despite that in overtime. Then go up big on Dallastown, hold off that team, which has a Division I player in Amari Johnson, and they're doing. I don't want to say they're doing it with smoke and mirrors, because this is how Redline has traditionally won, with not much size. I even asked Don. I was like, looking back to some of their teams when Shanley Harlacher was playing, when I first moved in the area, they were intense with that full court defense. they didn't have much size, and he even admitted, like, he credited the girls for their perseverance despite handling these injuries. But he did admit, this is something they've done before with handling a team that doesn't have much size, being able to do what they want to do is they have more speed because they don't have that size, and they just get after it defensively. And Amy Mashieski, the sophomore, has been the antithesis of that.
And Amy needed that. She played a lot as a freshman, but it was like she kind of needed that year to season. And it's so funny because her career is already kind of mirroring her sister, who I watched for 4 years, Erica, who's actually up at Bloomsburg now. But Erica was more of a physical presence.
And
She's taller, she's bigger.
Don talked about that. He even mentioned, he thought that, she unfairly drew some of those comparisons earlier last year.
Totally unfairly, too.
And she's her own player. She's a different player. The thing that separates her is being a little smaller. She's quite the heady player at 5'7", and she made some pretty big plays because Dallastown had this crazy stretch on Friday. They cut that deficit. I said it was 13 points down to 3 points. They had probably Redline committed about 4 straight turnovers that Dallastown turned into steals, and they converted each one. So all of a sudden, Dallastown's within 3. They get another turnover. Johnson can take a 3 to try to tie it, which unfortunately for her went rimmed in and out. And then Mashieski actually had a steal that sealed it for Redline. They were able to go to the free throw line and win that game 45-40.
Yeah, and when it was funny because most people I think know, I sit and I try to plan our show out and some of the talking points we want to do, and I'm writing up about Redline. I'm like, I'm calling them a surprise, but they've won Division I so many times in Coach Don Dimoff's career that it's like, gosh, is that really fair to call them a surprise? But when you look at their rivals 3 miles, 4 miles away, they were the favorites going in.
They were the favorites. It's kind of funny when you talk about it. I mean, they were our favorites, I should say that, because the coaches, from what I gathered, pegged New Oxford to be the favorite.
Yeah.
You and I pegged Dallastown to be the favorite.
Although we mentioned New Oxford, too. I mean, that's,
because of that feedback from the coaches. And I think even the referees admitted it because they do ask those things. Something I learned actually last week when working on the William Penn story that ran on Sunday was I was talking to Gordon Kaufman, the head of the York officials chapter, and he told me that one thing they do is to determine where they have A, B, and C crews, and one thing they do to determine where to send the A crews at the beginning of the season is they poll the coaches and ask them, hey, who do you think is going to be good this year? So that if they have a matchup with 2 teams that were polled to be good, hey, we'll send the A crew there. Right. So that was something that I thought was quite interesting to learn last week that I wanted to share with everyone.
I think I think it is, and it makes sense.
Thank you, Matt.
But
anytime
it makes sense too. I mean, it really does. And of course, Gordy's. I've known Gordy for a long time. I mean, he's great guys. A lot of our officials are.
Doing a tremendous job with that Donnie Swartz Classic and the Gretchen Wolf Scholarship. They upped it last year to the point where they had 4 scholarships, 2 for a boys program, 2 for a girls program. One student athlete would get $7,500 scholarship. The other one would get $2,500. This year they're giving out 4 $7,500 scholarships.
That's fantastic.
So that's wow.
And what a great event, the way they set up that doubleheader at York College and the nice facility there, and they go girls boys doubleheader, and it's funny because I think we've each experienced it. I've seen, the first year of that, it was Darian McCauley's coming out party. He comes off the bench as a West York freshman and wins tournament MVP honors because he dropped 16 points. And that it just, you get to see sometimes at a tournament like that, maybe something different.
And this year it was Jared Ockerberg's
There you
because he
go.
was the MVP as a sophomore and had a big game. He had almost 9 rebounds, 3 or 4 blocks, a couple of steals. He was instrumental, and it's a name we have seen. And it was funny. I talked to John Riekert when I was watching Eastern volleyball because his wife Jen, of course, is the Eastern volleyball coach. And of course, if I see a basketball coach, I can't resist.
Yeah,
I have to
go
talk
figure.
hoops. So he was talking about how much he liked Jared after last year as a freshman, and it really dawned on me, wow, this is what he's talking about.
Yep, there you go. So, folks, we're going to go to break. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOIK.
This is a Radio PA news update. Republican officials have tapped newly elected Iowa Senator Joni Ernst to deliver the party's formal response to President Barack Obama's State of the Union address on Tuesday. Ernst was elected to her seat in November, capturing it after years of Democratic control. She appeared with Speaker John Boehner and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in Hershey, the site of the GOP retreat. A new report finds Pennsylvania remains among the 10 states with the most regressive state and local tax policies. David Payne reports.
The report shows the poorest residents paying nearly 3 times what the wealthy pay in taxes as a share of income. Middle-income wage earners pay twice as much as their richest counterparts, due largely to the state's flat income tax. The report is prepared every 2 years by the Nonpartisan Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. Pennsylvania has maintained this ranking for the last decade.
Low-interest loans intended to help businesses grow have been approved by the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority. The loans are projected to result in 157 new jobs and in the retention of 94 jobs. A total of $5.56 million will be lent for 7 projects. Steve Kratz with the State Department of Community and Economic Development says these loans will continue to generate more jobs and revenue as they are repaid and lent back out.
We make the initial investment, the companies will pay these loans back, and they'll go back into the account, and then it can be reinvested in new jobs and new growth.
Governor-elect Tom Wolf wants Maryland's top cop to become Pennsylvania's top cop. Wolf is selecting Marcus Brown, Maryland State Police Superintendent, to take over as PA's State Police Commissioner. Revenues at Pennsylvania's 12 casinos have dropped for a second straight year. Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board says gross revenue declined 1.44%, just over $3 billion in 2014. I'm Pete Pramack, and you're up to date with Radio PGA.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold
I want to be
day.
a football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the
.org.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.
Switch to save even more today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Applies to Tier 1 generics for select plans.
Hi, I'm Central York boys basketball coach Kevin Sheeler. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Sports Radio WOYK AM 1350. Game Day with GameTimePA is here. Along with Steve Navaroli, I'm Matt Gould and Teddy Feinberg. And gentlemen, we are set to begin hour number 2. So first, we wanted to do some promos. Steve, the Nebraska-Wisconsin basketball game, I believe, is on WOYK tonight.
Oh, Big Ten hoops action.
That's a very random game, it feels like.
A little bit, and what was almost what was more random though to me was when Daryl had to tell me the time twice, because I'm like, really? 8:45? But yeah, Central Time, of course.
True. Yeah, 8:45 Eastern, because it would be
exactly.
Show business.
It is. It's
Oh.
true.
Also,
not something we're used to.
Also, another perk of that game being on radio is both teams' color combinations are red and white. So I think I would prefer that game to be on the radio.
Another unique observation from usual.
It is.
I'm
It
full
is
of
as
them.
usual.
I also
Yeah.
just want to throw out a promo too. Redline, the Spring Grove Wrestling Night, 7:30 p.m. You can catch that on our live stream. We're doing a lot of live stream wrestling lately. Past week, I think we've had 2 or 3 matches.
And both teams, I believe, are unbeaten in the YIA Division 1 standings.
Andy Meese is in tears of joy right now. But Andy is watching, by the way. He did mention us on Twitter. But yeah, that will be tonight, 7:30. So if you're a wrestling fan, you don't want to go out there this evening, you can watch it live on the live stream, which I think is an awesome feature.
I must admit my disappointment, Andy, because I asked him to tweet us some thoughts on the pins for the heavyweight.
He just said he's listening and he loved it.
Yeah, he just said that he was listening and he loved it.
Loved
He
it.
didn't bother
It's okay.
actually giving what I asked for, which was some wrestling thoughts.
I'll settle for somebody listening.
You know what? Maybe my phone will go off in a minute and I'll
There
get
you
some
go.
of those thoughts from him. You can only hope.
Exactly. So.
We are going to hop in the pool figuratively.
Yeah,
So
so
Steve never
you know, we talk about swimming. Let's see, you know, if any swimmers can hear it because there are so many meets going on.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the dilemmas. You know that you know swimming is typically Thursday, though. Now, you know, here's the thing: the league meet is actually a week earlier this year, which Matt, you and I were talking a little bit about. It's going to be actually nice for us. Because, you know, typically I'm at the league diving and the league swimming meet while you're covering the championship basketball games. And, you know, now we're going to be able to double team again.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember when I first moved here and I got to come and do a video with you while you were covering swimming. Gerard Woody was a senior at Dallastown. It was a match at Southwestern. And a couple of things caught my eye. And that was one that Southwestern's coach, they had a big cartoon picture of him. In the
Bill Sterner, the caricature.
Yeah, on the wall.
Love it.
In the pool, and then the fact that I wore a sweater, and I had about 3 layers of clothing because it was really cold.
Winter.
It was 15 degrees out, and then I come into this sweltering pool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we learned that lesson pretty quickly.
I'm just glad I didn't fall in.
Rookie mistake.
It was a narrow walkway to get to you where you were at from the other side, and I was really worried carrying that camera.
I walked. Listen, I walked slowly at pool deck for that reason. And now, also remember though, then what was it last year when we were doing a Game Time 717 episode at Dallastown during warm-ups?
I think that might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. When they were warming up for diving behind us, and
we got a cannonball.
And it wasn't technically a cannonball, but the splash was like it, and I got wet during filming, and that was great though. That was part of the fun. But anyhow, one of the things I wanted to talk about was, you know, last week, the reason I wasn't here, Central York, Dallastown. Now, keep in mind, Dallastown, the league split into 2 divisions for the 2009 season, 2008-2009 season. And before that, it was Dallastown, York Suburban, Spring Grove one year with Michelle King. Dover had several successful years in the girls program and that. But, you know, Dallastown and Suburban have been the heavies and boys. Okay, ever since 2009, when they went to 2 divisions, Dallastown has won every single boys and every single girls title. I did the preview this year on Central York because they return a lot on that team, both teams, especially their boys team. And Dallastown graduated 12 incredibly talented seniors. And I kind of framed it to say, is this the year that Central catches Dallastown? And because I'm looking at how good these Central swimmers are, and I'm thinking, well, Dallastown graduated so much. I think this could be the year. Well, doesn't old Rich Howley at Dallastown just proved me wrong again, and they beat Central by 30 in the boys' meet. The girls, I figured Dallastown had the advantage, but boy, their boys took to the pool, and he's got new ones coming in, and you know, it just, you know, the incredible machine that is Dallastown swimming just keeps on being incredible. Now it's centered around Noah Brockway, who came in as a terrific freshman. And now he's a senior, but he's got state swimming. He was on a state,
he has a sister
relay.
on the girls basketball team.
Yes, sisters on the girls basketball team. His cousin is a freshman on the boys swim team. Logan is really good, and it's just funny to see. And yet, they've got Spencer Hill is one of the area's best IM swimmers, and they're so versatile, and they're always finding good freestylers. And it's like, oh, here we go again. And I feel bad on one hand because I know how good the Central team is, and I know how hard those kids work. The Peckman brothers, Eric's is a senior. Alex only a freshman, and he is unbelievable. And you know the talent they have, and yet.
At what point in the match did you realize, Dallastown isn't going away?
Medley relay, which is the first event. You could just see the way they swam in that medley. You thought, here we go. And then they win the 200 free, then they win the 200 IM, and you're thinking, okay. And, now I might have that wrong. No, I am wrong. Alec Peckman won his event early in the meet, but Dallastown came in second, third, and fourth. So they evened up the points. In fact, they outscored Central in that race, even though Central won the race. As soon as you see something like that, you tend to know. Because okay, Noah Brockway's coming up. He's going to probably swim the 50 free and the 100 back. He's not going to lose. And you're thinking, you just, when you've covered swimming for as long as I have, you think of where the points are coming from and how it's going to play out. And it's funny because the coaches, especially the veteran coaches, they have it down. And more often than not, if you get a close meet down to the wire, the coach will say, yeah, I had it at a 2-point meet. Yeah, they really have it down like that.
Are they just saying that to you, though?
No, absolutely not.
No?
Nope, I would guarantee you.
But if it was a 15-point meet, have they ever said, yeah, I had it at about a 15-point meet?
Maybe not that specific, but when it's a really, really close one, let's say 6 or closer, I knew it was going to come down to the relay.
I kind of don't believe him. I feel like that's like the coach speak. Like when Eister was talking about Central, it's kind of like, I feel like, all right, well, where are you going to say that? I want to hear that more consistently then, regardless of what the score is.
Well,
find shenanigans.
Well, you know what? You can call it, but because I've been around the sport a long time, you're wrong. So, and
I like how Matt's keeping him on his toe, on their toes.
Absolutely. Now another school I wanted to mention, and I got a chance to spend a little time with them on Tuesday, New Oxford. Now here's tiny. New Oxford's not a small school, but they are typically a small swim team. They didn't come. They came in the league in 2000. They haven't exactly, they haven't racked up a ton of victories. In fact, they very, very few over that time. But it's all about their individuals, and their swimmers getting better. Well, they went to Southwestern, and there's another thing. New Oxford, all away meets. They don't have a home pool.
Wow, I was about to ask if they have a bigger pool or a smaller pool.
Nope,
they don't have any.
All away meets. They do practice at the Brethren home in Abbottstown, and they use their pool as a practice facility. And I got a great chance to talk with Coach Cheryl Mowry as obviously they're at Dallastown. They have no chance to win that meet and it was just so much. It was so refreshing to see it like that. And they got a tie in the boys meet at Southwestern, which has been swimming since
Cheryl
the 60s.
Coaches other sports too.
Long-standing veteran.
She's been the field hockey coach for 38 years.
How rare is that to see a swimming coach that coaches
extremely.
Matt, so did you say softball since '78?
Yeah. Yes, she did field hockey since
field
78.
hockey. I'm sorry. Yeah,
field
unbelievable.
Hockey since '78. Yeah. So and it is really rare that now you mentioned. Now it's probably harder when they have a pool because typically swim coach maybe the aquatics director or something like that, which wouldn't allow time. But and just she's just great. And I'm doing a story on them that's going to run in Sunday's paper. So I do want to promo that in advance because the Colonials really deserve some attention. So that takes care of a little bit of the swimming. Suburban's interesting. Suburban and Dover coming up will be an interesting meet. West York swimming well. I think we're seeing a lot of good stuff out there. Watch out for the Red Line girls. They're pretty good as well.
Steve, this gets into a little bit of an Uncle Steve-ish question, but you mentioned the Dallastown Central meet. You could tell right away.
Yeah.
How the match was going to end. This made me think of comebacks. And I thought of Dallastown and Southwestern football this year, where Southwestern came out, punched them in the face, took a 21-0 lead, and you're thinking, oh, Dallastown's going to lose, and they come back. Have you ever seen a situation like that where in swimming where a team looks like they're down and out and they pull off some sort of rally because of the swimming?
It's hard to. It's extremely rare. One area maybe when Dallastown and Suburban used to have these knockdown dragouts during a 4-year run that Suburban won the league, back when the league was all one division. Dallastown would typically go out early, but Suburban had this unbelievable end of their lineup in the boys, and they were going to win the backstroke with Kevin Marsteller. They were going to win the breaststroke with Chris Manning, and their 400 free relay was unbeatable. They were all state champions one year. It just, Suburban won 3 straight state AA boys.
So it was
champions.
a comeback you saw coming. basically.
Yes, I think that's the best way to put it, Matt. Exactly.
Because you know who's going to, what the events
Bingo.
are in the order,
Yep.
so it's
Yeah,
almost,
so typically
which gets
you know
back
it's
to
coming.
where the coaches know, yeah, I had it at 2 points.
That's why. Exactly. So, hey, let's go to break, and I guess we'll do a little Uncle Steve segment. Won't be the same without Brandon, but I know you guys will come up.
I'm still
for
looking
me.
forward to it. I'm ready.
All right. Well, you're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chef's Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate. The last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. And skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
Here's Wessner again, behind a screen, he hits another three. Ahead to Myers, wide open for the dunk. He jams another one, his second tonight.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm West York girls basketball coach Darryl Wilderson. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
All right, welcome back to AM 1350 WOYK. It's Game Day with Game Time PA, along with Steve Navaroli, Teddy Feinberg. I am Matt Gould, and it's time for our Uncle Steve segment. Unfortunately, Brandon Stoneberg usually spurs this.
Spurs it. He drives this truck through the wall.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're going to try to maintain that speed. But
Teddy's laugh just threw me off completely. He started laughing, and his eyebrows and his eyelids were like going up and down like shutters. And I couldn't. It was just the weirdest thing. But, Teddy, do you have some questions for Uncle Steve today?
I do, actually. And
I
Matt,
do as well.
Well, yeah, no, that's great. And maybe I'll just take it from the top. And now, Matt, I just came up with this because Matt brought up comebacks in swimming. And this actually is for Matt and for Steve. I was wondering if you guys can recall, off the top of your head, the greatest comeback effort covering a game that you've ever seen.
Well, Matt, yours might have been that
That
Dallas
Dallas
Southwestern.
That was a great game.
And that game had so much going on because Tristan Schilling, who is a team manager for them, is in a wheelchair. They dedicated the game to him too, so there was a lot of stuff going on there with that, in addition to having a great game. So that's what made that game so awesome. I think it's not just the comeback, but who it was for.
Now, what do you think?
Well, I'll be honest, I'd have to really think probably too long and hard as far as this historically, but I'll give one from just this year, girls basketball. Although they didn't win, Dallastown was up like 16 points at Central York, and the Panthers came back and forced overtime, although they didn't execute in overtime, much to the dismay of Coach Scott Wisner, but that was a really, really impressive, and you could feel it. You could feel they were going to come back in that game.
Look back to last year's district championship game for Cedar Crest and William Penn. I believe Cedar Crest had a double-digit lead in that game, and William Penn came back to win it. So for that to be on that stage as well, tremendous comeback.
Especially you say that stage. I mean that amplifies it even more. No question about it. Oh, I've got it. Nope, I've got it. Okay, thanks for saying that. Big stage. Okay, I can't even remember the year. York Catholic girls first state title. 05, they were down 19 in the third quarter. Okay, came back and won the state AA girls basketball championship by 6 points. I want to say 2005. Wow. I may be wrong about the year. It was the first of their 3 straight state titles. That was the greatest comeback I've ever seen.
I wonder if that was the difference. Like if they hadn't come back in that game, would they have won the next two? You never know.
Hard to say. You never know. I mean, they were so dominating the next one. But still, they had a tendency to fall behind. But 19 in the state title game.
That's high profile.
Although, just thinking as a writer, had they lost that game and then won the next two, it'd have been like that loss motivated them.
Well, of course.
But since they came back, it's the comeback sent them on their way.
I cannot tell you how amazing that was.
What I'm about to say isn't going to go in the record books. I've obviously only been here like 5 or 6 months, but the other night, the Dallastown Red Lions boys basketball comeback, that was a good game.
Both Dallastown teams came back, and the boys actually finished the comeback. So that was one that we didn't see coming because they were down. Actually, it was 3.5 minutes left. Dallastown was down 47-35 and came back.
Yeah, so they look kind of, I don't want to say dead in the water, but I didn't see the I watched it on the live stream.
Cardiac cats. What can you say? Dallastown football, Dallastown basketball. I mean, wow.
Exactly.
Matt, why don't you? We can alternate questions here. I'm fine with that format.
All right. Well, I've got a question I've been itching to ask you, Steve, and in honor of Cardale Jones saying he's going to stay at Ohio State today, in honor of Jeff Reynolds for his performance the other day. Who are some of the best backups stories you can think of over the years, if any, come to mind?
Well, one that comes to mind because I mentioned that comeback there. Kelly Ryan was a member of that York Catholic basketball team, and she was a freshman playing with 4 sophomores ahead of her, and she came off the bench during that game, and she was just she wasn't a polished basketball player. She was actually volleyball scholarship, but she was just such a great athlete. And talk about energy coming in, although that was only that year because she started from there on out, and so she would be one of them. Here's an unusual one, and it's funny because we talked about Jeff Reynolds earlier, and of course I mentioned his volleyball and that, and I'm noticing a trend here, how some of these basketball backups are really good at other sports. Billy Hurd was an unbelievable tennis player at Dallastown. And, man, when he came, he played basketball the first 2 years. He didn't play as a senior to concentrate on tennis. And when he came in a game, it was energy, it was points. He was really athletic, probably more athletic than we would give credit to a tennis player, and, unbelievable. So he comes to mind right away. Again, that's something, as I was trying to think a little bit, I know I'm missing somebody who was one of those, Teddy, for your benefit, Vinnie Johnson, the microwave of the Pistons, came off the bench and could fire threes and do those things. Outside of Jeff Reynolds the other night, there was somebody historically that I watched do that for a couple of years, and the name it's just not coming to me right now.
There's something about the backup player that brings a certain intangible to a game.
And you've got to be willing to do it, number one.
You've got to relish that.
And exactly.
I believe Shiflett's been doing that now ever since he at least was late in around Christmas time.
Right. Of course, when I saw him last week, and he had to start.
Yes.
They were down.
This one, Matt probably really couldn't speak on. I don't think he could unless he took a time machine back. But John Kuhn played football at Dover. I bring him up because he's obviously playing in the NFC Championship game this weekend as a running back for the
yeah.
Green Bay Packers. Certainly plays a role. He's a blocking back. He might get a carry or
He's
two.
an all-pro.
He is an all-pro. He's an all-pro at fullback, which is very scrap iron. Steve, you saw him play at Dover High School. Now he's a 9-year NFL veteran.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there who might not really be familiar with the story, well, what was he like as a high school player at Dover? And, of course, he played at Shippensburg, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Here's the thing with John that's kind of maybe unusual, and then part of the problem is I only got to see him twice. Back then, when John was playing, Dover did not have lights yet. Also back then,
scrap iron.
Yeah. Also back then, our paper did not have the Sunday paper. So with Dover playing on Saturdays, we wouldn't be covering it because we didn't have the paper the next day. Wow. So I only got to see him in a couple road games. Now one was a playoff game against Bermudian Springs. They were both AA schools then, and it was at Bermudian, a Friday night game. And
I wonder if Ben Stroop was playing for them.
Yeah, it's a little bit before Ben's time, but Luther Green, who we worked with, Dustin Green, his brother, Luther Green was playing, and Luther had like 140 yards. John had 99. He was a very good player. I mean, he was their Dover's all-time leading rusher until Vaughn Hebron Jr. took that mantle several years ago. But, I would consider him more of a late bloomer because, he was good, certainly good enough to get into, the best Division II football conference, in the PSAC. But
he's in the NFL now.
He's in the NFL now, and
he's an all-pro.
Keep in mind, at Shippensburg, though, he broke 26 PSAC rushing records.
I didn't know that
career,
was possible to have
single
that many
season
rushing records.
Well,
I want to see the record books immediately.
Some of them may have been his own. He broke it one year and then broke his own the next year. I'm not sure of the breakdown, but it was like 23 or 26. And that was neat because, my wife and I would go up like for homecoming or something and watching him play there saying, I saw him a couple times in high school. Boy, I didn't see this coming because he just ran people over and touchdowns and, he was a machine. And then when he first came to the NFL with Pittsburgh,
right?
And you were like, oh, wow, hey, how cool. John Kuhn's in the NFL, and then he goes to Green Bay and becomes an all-star basically at his role. It's not like he's getting a ton of carries. He caught, one pass last week, had one or two carries.
He has a role on that
team. But he's got a huge role in, number one, protecting the league MVP.
He's also a blocking back for Lacey.
Right, and so when you see that, it's like, wow, it's so cool to think, I know that guy, type thing. And I got a chance to interview him here at Santander Stadium a couple years ago. He was in for a Revs game and gave us some interview time. So
was that
cool
the night they did the bobblehead, John Kuhn bobblehead here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it's been neat to see. Anytime you can say, and I tend to do that. Like guys I remember talking to, maybe in the Penn State interview room, a kid I met in high school, Jordan Hill, who's up at Steel High. His coach at the time is a friend of mine, and I got to know Jordan a little bit, and then covered him when I would cover a couple Penn State games a year.
Obvious local angle.
You're right. I mean, he was a kid that would actually come up to me, because he remembered me from when he was in high school, and now he's playing for the Seahawks. So I got two kids, not kids, obviously grown men, very big grown men that could squish me like a bug, playing against each other that I know in the NFC Championship game. That's cool.
That's really cool.
Steve, biggest surprise or jaw-dropping moment in high school sports you've ever seen or covered?
Well, I may have touched on it. I mean, I think part of it, that's certainly the York Catholic run that is still continuing. I mean, how do you win 9 straight district titles, number one?
But that third quarter comeback.
But that third quarter comeback was just unbelievable. And you knew, that was one that you knew when the fourth quarter started they were going to win that game, even though I think they were still down 9 or 10 or 11.
Yeah.
You could just feel it. Jaw-dropping moment, okay? I'm staying with the same team. District championship game, whether it was the following year, it might have been the year after that. Everybody's telling me, it had to be the year after that, because Katie Schran was a freshman.
Okay, I think I remember.
Everybody's telling me Trinity's going to hammer York Catholic. That streak is
particularly in
ending.
Harrisburg.
Particularly in Harrisburg, particularly people that covered the Trinity team and were very enamored with a really good fundamental basketball program. Terrific program.
Now, why hadn't Trinity beaten York Catholic in the previous few seasons? they moved down from AAA?
Well,
or what?
no, good question, Matt. No, the thing of it is, York Catholic had those, the 4 starters that were around Kelly Ryan, who was a year younger. The 4 that started as freshmen played all the way through. Well, okay, they've graduated.
Okay.
So what can they, and then York Catholic's down, they come back, they tie the game. But before the game, somebody said to me, I don't know what the big deal about this freshman is. Okay. She goes 12 for 12 from the line in the Giant Center in the district title game as a freshman.
They found out what the big deal was.
They found out what the big deal, and said so after the game.
Wow.
They said, now I see what the big deal is. And the funny thing is, I mentioned Ryan. They go to overtime, jump ball. She spiked it. She spiked it, So Trinity gets possession. They didn't score in the entire overtime. 13-0 York Catholic run in overtime. They win another district title, and it just keeps continuing. That's probably the most amazing thing that I've been around consistently year after year after year.
Wow.
And funny moment, they provided me one of my funnier moments. State title game 4 years ago, and everybody knows I obviously cover a lot of swimming, including the district meet, the league meet, the district meet, the state meet. And because of it, I actually miss a lot of basketball. An hour before, and John Clayton was working with me then, and Matt, I think you had just joined us. You were on the desk. And we're up there at the Bryce Jordan Center, and it's right before, an hour before the state title game. Kevin Bankos, their coach, comes walking over to me. Now, here they are getting ready for the biggest game. And this will tell you about their mentality. He comes walking over to me and does a swimming motion. He comes up, and I said, Kevin, what are you doing? He said, I figured it was the only way I could ever get your attention. And he says, I was going to have the girls were stretching on the floor. I was going to have them swim across the floor to you. Who thinks of this an hour before a state championship game? Okay, but that's
because they were doing weird things up at Penn State.
Exactly. And you've seen it too. Yeah. So, but just that moment, it's just one of the funniest moments I'll ever remember.
Wow.
Really, really neat.
Teddy, do you have any others?
I have some more, but I also think some of them tie into social media, which we're going to get to the next segment too. So Matt, feel free.
I have one more, and Teddy kind of got this out, but it didn't take much effort on his part to let this out of the cage. But when we were talking about William Penn last week, I got on how basketball is my favorite sport, swimming's your favorite.
Swimming to cover. I mean, I can't say it's my favorite sport because I can't do it worth a darn. So.
Now Teddy got it out of me what my least favorite sport was. I think Teddy remembers. I divulged that lacrosse is my least favorite sport.
Right, yeah.
What is your least favorite sport to cover?
Wow. Least favorite to cover.
Or maybe the toughest to cover. Like maybe there's one that there's going to be some fundamental things you don't necessarily.
Teddy's trying to put a positive spin on it.
You're right.
But there is something there. To me, during the track dual meet season, okay, listen, covering the league meet, covering districts, covering states,
or invitationals as well.
You and I like that. That's great. But and everybody's like, well, dude, if you cover swimming, why do you not love covering track? Here's the thing, swimming, everything is going on right in front of you. It's in the pool, and I can keep track of what the score is. At track, you can't. If you're watching the running, you have no idea what's going on in the throwing. You don't know what's going on in the jumping pit, and you have no idea what the score is.
And
that drives me crazy.
I almost added to Marty Trimmer's stress level last year when I suggested this because I like covering track at Central because those pits are so close and easy to access to. Whereas the league championship at Dallastown, you got to
go
drive
to
go find stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, gee, it would be so much nicer, Marty, if you guys hosted league meets instead of Dallastown.
And what happened after his head exploded?
His son Nathan kind of picked up the pieces.
Well, what's your approach when you guys go out and cover? Due to what you just said, what's your approach when you actually cover?
I usually just hodgepodge around. The one thing for
he said hodgepodge.
The one thing I do make sure I catch for video purposes is the 100 to 200 because people like sprints. I mean, that's the appeal of track.
And it's nice and I'm going to extend on what Matt's saying here because number one, and also it's nice and quick, but it's easy to focus because it's not like if you're trying to take a little video of, let's say, the 800. Well, you got the kid finishing the 800. Well, the next kid could be half a track away.
Yeah.
We're here. Almost everybody is within your same shot, either for photographing, but definitely for video work.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that.
My one thing is I always want to watch the 100 to 200, usually the 4x1 as well, that relay, because that's an intense relay. And then, I mean, granted, like, it depends. Like, if there's something going on, like last year with the distance events, I made sure I watched those because Patrick Riley and Aaron Gebhardt were going at it.
Such good distance.
Yeah.
No question.
But, like, you know, but then there's times where I'm like, all right, if I know somebody, like, usually hear, like, last call for this event. And, like say if Anderson Novlin was an excellent thrower.
Yeah, shot.
So,
Right.
like,
Really
so
good
then I was like,
perfect sense.
all right, time to go over there
Yeah,
if
sure.
I hear that. And that's the one thing I always like is hearing Mr. Har over at Dallastown say, last call
exactly.
for the shot put.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's, you know, and the thing that is, you know, cross country would have at one time kind of been at my least favorite, but now they've got it. The system just runs better now. You got to remember now, you know, there's typically almost everybody's using a laptop somewhere near the scorer's table and that. But, you know, you got to remember, I date back to when all this stuff, including swimming, was done by hand in a scorebook.
Well, here's the thing with
wasn't easy to cover.
With track and field, even Dick Van Alinda struggles to keep up with a dual meet for the scoring.
Right, of course. And he's been doing this 20 years more than me.
Yeah. So that just gives you an idea.
Yep.
And I mean, Teddy, I know you're not familiar with Dick DVO, but everybody who's listening to this probably is familiar.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an institution with your
I
sports as well.
must say, when the first person I met coming up to York, I saw someone drive me to York when I landed at Baltimore Airport, and I told him I was coming to work for the paper, and the very first thing he mentioned was DVO.
Yeah, and so like.
And then, of course, Navarone.
which is why it's kind of funny. Like, I feel very like every time I cover a dual track meet, I'm covering it with Dick, and he always admits to me is like, "This is still a pain in the butt to do the scoring." It's like, I don't feel bad then. I feel so much better after that.
No, that'd be why. You know, a lot of people over the years have said field hockey for whatever reason. Well, all the whistles. Okay, field hockey has gotten so much better now because number one, a lot more turf play, which makes that sport a lot faster, a lot better, and they also have made significant rule changes. I mean, Matt, I know you're looking at me like there's still a lot of whistles. No.
Not like
This
it
is
used to be.
nothing like it used to be. That sport's a lot better.
And then volleyball is so hard to keep track of statistically; it's impossible.
Yeah, you got to have help there.
The stat keepers for both teams are your
Yes.
best
They really
friend,
are. They
and
really are.
my hat's off to every volleyball stat keeper.
Yep.
I don't think they know how much they help make our job easier.
Which is why the last two state championship days, I got my photo taken with the Northeastern scorekeepers because they rock.
are on top of it. They are on top of it.
And they're desperately
And it's
needed,
funny.
so.
They're the one returning stat keeper from that group. She's cheerleading now. She even during that first Northeastern game that I was at, she pulled me aside and said, "I can't wait for volleyball season." She's ready to get winter over.
I think that's also indicative of that program too.
Yeah.
So, which we've been lucky enough to be able to cover for a while, and that's been a lot of fun.
I do think we have some more to get to next segment too. I had some more questions from a social media standpoint. So is break appropriate?
Let's do it.
All right,
Take a
folks.
break.
You're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. We'll be back.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Under center with McNabb and Malone.
What's next for Ray McDonald, who was not only arrested for domestic abuse on his pregnant wife or fiance, but played this past Sunday?
The whole thing comes down to is the NFL and Roger Goodell. You know, when you make the decision of suspending Ray Rice for 2 games, then you come back out to clean things up and say, hey, we're going to be stricter. We're going to come out and suspend guys 6 games, and then it's a 1-year ban. Well, why didn't you just do it in the first place?
Under center, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on NBC Sports Radio.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
And that's going to do it. The York College Spartans are 2014 CAC champions.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
The safety blitz.
You think the Rams are kicking themselves every day for the amount of money they gave Sam Bradford? You play quarterback in this league and you played at a pretty decent level, you're getting yourself a 9-figure contract.
How do you invest money long-term, big money into RG3? All these quarterbacks are getting basically $100 million, $50, $60 million guaranteed. How do you know if you want him as your long-term quarterback solution if he can't stay on the field?
The safety blitz, weekends on NBC Sports Radio.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Hi, I'm Dover boys basketball coach Brian Schmoyer. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
Folks, we're back. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. The intro music gets me fired up. And honestly, I got fired up for Springsteen when that came on.
Honestly, it's the coaches that get me fired up because it's like, hey, it's Brian Schmoyer. I talk to him all the time.
It is always funny hearing him in that mood.
Well, of course, folks, we try to remain active on social media. That's a top priority. And we ask questions. We want our fans to get involved. And sometimes they do, and sometimes we want them to get more involved. But in any event, we like to address this on the radio as well. And Steve, I'm going to harken back to last week because last week, one of the questions we asked on Facebook at the turn of the new year was 2014. Fans, when you think of 2014, what comes to mind? Unanimously, to a T, it was high school volleyball. Mm-hmm. It was York Suburban cross country winning the state championship. I'm going to ask you, when Steve Navaroli, now and then maybe even down the road, when you think back to 2014, what do you think is going to come to mind like that?
Oh, it's so easy. The volleyball. I mean, you know, you got to remember, 2013, Matt and I covered a volleyball championship with Northeastern. 6 days later, a baseball championship with West York, and we thought that was pretty cool. Well, then 2014, we covered 2 volleyball championships in 2 hours. Northeastern, Central York. That was pinnacle.
I feel like I'm reading your year in review column all over again.
It was, and that's why it headlined my year in review column, because it was an absolute pinnacle of coverage for us.
We talked about Matt, throwing things up on the blog, and I'm reading right now. A gentleman, or maybe it's a woman named Jay Luck, responded in defense of York High. We had Northeastern atop the weekly power poll. These things fluctuate. Teams move up, teams move down. We're talking about overall body of work. Jay Luck obviously really defends York High, says they should be on top. I just want to ask both of you the Northeastern York High question. These two teams, very good basketball teams. When they match up, give us your scouting reports like that. Matt, I want to start with you.
Well, the first thing is, I think what Northeastern gives this William Penn team, if they play, is a lot of hype that they aren't. I mean, I don't want to say they're not used to seeing because they saw it with Chester. But this team gives them matchups that you're not going to get elsewhere in this area, which is you've got Michael Coleman, who's 6'4". You got Jeff Reynolds, who's 6'3". You've got Donovan Maxwell's the only one who's not over 6 foot on that lineup usually.
Yeah, and
you
Hoffman
got Darius Brown. Hoffman's
6'6".
6'6", 6'7". Darius Brown has got major hops.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that athletically can match up with them, and size-wise can match up with them. And I think back to a couple years ago. William Penn played them in a league semifinal and really ran away with it. But Derek Hoffman was just a sophomore on that team. I'm sure he would love to get another chance to play against that team. So he's going to bring a much better game. He's a lot older, a lot wiser. I just think it would be fun to watch them because of that matchup of height and length that can move.
Yeah, very good point.
And William Penn, even though Chris Johnson 6'5", 6'6", Jair Wilson 6'4", Brandon Smallwood 6'5". Other than those guys, their lineup is pretty much 5'11", 6-foot guys. But when they played against Chester, they were able to play with those big bodies.
Sure.
So
everybody on the floor is going to be fast in that game.
It's going to be great.
That's the biggest thing is everybody on the floor is going to be fast, and both teams, if you want to try to sag down in a zone, don't do it because they're going to nail you with 3-pointers, and
especially
both teams can do that.
Both teams can do it. Northeastern's much more consistent at doing it, and like you mentioned,
but York can do it though.
You mentioned John Eister saying 9 wasn't that much for them, and they didn't shoot that well. They've had games where they're hitting 13 threes in a game.
That's unbelievable.
So
that's unreal.
Double digits is a regular.
Right. And
category.
I would probably like William Penn's rebounding, in that game. But if Northeastern's not going to miss shots, there's a whole lot of rebounds not to get. They are an absolute 1 in 1A. It's hard to say 1 and 2. I think you could make
that's
the
what
argument
it comes down
1
to
and 1A.
is if Northeastern has 12. I've seen games where they have 13 threes. If they have that many threes in a game against William Penn, they win the game.
But if they have 5, major advantage William Penn.
William Penn wins that game going away.
Yep.
If Northeastern is not hitting that many
really
threes. And I can't think of a game where at least, they might have had one over Christmas break, and I was doing the stats real fast, but I have not seen many games where they had that few number of threes.
And there again, that's the case. You probably games that you might have done the stats that they didn't have that many was just because maybe they didn't need to.
And these teams are excellent defensive teams.
Both are.
You look at Redline. I mentioned a nice defensive team. These are the other two teams. Northeastern statistically has been the best defensive team. William Penn is one of the more versatile teams defensively as well. So, at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game that would be in the 40s just because of the way these teams get at it. It'd be I just think because of the tempo and the speed, that it would be really hard for the scoring to be under 50 because you're going to get that many possessions because they're going to move fast.
67-63 type game.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go. I might run the court and shoot a 3-pointer.
It'll probably be live streamed, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
Especially if it's the league final.
One more from a social media standpoint. So obviously creating a buzz this past year has been football changes, and we just had another one, Steve Wiles DeLone, leaving really fantastic tenure, 68-27 career record at DeLone. I apologize. So now we have Spring Grove, Susky, West York, DeLone, and Dover, all with vacancies. Me and Matt talked about this last week, but in your mind, maybe the answer is obvious. Maybe it's West York. And Matt, please, we would love your opinion again. What's the most appealing position? Because these are different just because Susky obviously went 1-9, but a lot of them are actually good jobs. Some of them as a coach moves into where he has to build. Not always the case here.
Well, here's the thing. It's easy to say because West York has been the area's top program for so many years. Oh, that's the job.
There's going to be pressure there now.
However, do you really want to go in and fill Ron Miller's shoes?
Well, that's an intriguing question.
And that's the other side of it because he had every bit of support from the parents, from the community, from the kids, from the administration, and now, it's somebody new, and let's say they go out and they stumble a game early. There's tremendous pressure. Even Miller felt pressure when they lost to Dallastown.
Yeah. Well, you set the bar.
That was a good team.
The bar's been set.
And the bar's been set, and you think, my gosh, if I don't win 9 games, people are going to look at me like I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
How much of that pressure, though, was Miller putting pressure on himself?
That's what made him so good at this job. You're absolutely right, and I think that was a major part of it. Again, you could look at, and listen, I look at some of the athletes they have back. Well, yeah, that's pretty attractive. Dover's an intriguing job to me, too, because they have a lot of
I also think
back,
Spring Grove's an attractive job for these reasons, too. Facilities
are
awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely.
And the cupboard's not there. No. Russ Stoner did an excellent job of developing the kids that are at the varsity level right now that are going to be back that we know about. So that's a job where it's kind of like, all 3 of those jobs are jobs where it's almost like tailor-made to come in. Yeah. Don't change too much, and he'll be in a good position.
Do you remember when we did for some reason the weather, and I think it might have been my last Game Time episode before I had to go out on break, and we did it from their weight room. From Spring Grove's weight room. And
that place was nice.
That was nice. I'm like, okay, I can see this. And of course, Papermaker Stadium is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a great point, Matt, and certainly makes that.
They're actually appealing jobs. Like, you're not stepping into just this nightmare situation.
No, and you know what? I would even say, and you touched on. I mean, Susquehannock at 1-9. You know, if you're able to go down there now and build a little bit, you can be a hero there. I mean, it really can, because it's just been a tough run, and I would never point to any of the coaches and say, oh, it was his fault, or it was this, it was that.
Yeah, that's a unique situation.
Circumstance, unique situation. However, if you're the one that can turn it around, how fantastic do you look? So that's the way I look at that.
Well, I'm glad we had this conversation. All right, well, we're going to go back on break.
Yep.
Folks, you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA on 1350 WOYK. We will be back to wrap things up. Come back and see us.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Bryce Shields of Dallas Town Wrestling. The Wildcats picked up a huge win this week over New Oxford, with Shields making the difference for Dallas Town, earning an 11-0 major decision to clinch the Dallas Town victory. The Dallas Town Wildcats are currently 6-3 overall, with a 3-0 mark in division matchups. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Rebecca Isaac of Biglerville Basketball. Isaac reached a milestone this week that any athlete would be proud of, as she scored her 1,000th career point in the Canners' 48-40 victory over York Country Day. Isaac scored a game-high 27 points, including a career-high 7 3-pointers in the victory.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Kids of all ages will learn how to feel comfortable on ice, how to stand, and perhaps most importantly, how to fall properly. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. Classes are taught by York Ice Arena skating instructors from White Rose Figure Skating Club. No skates? No problem. Skate rental is included in your registration. Or get on the ice for our York Ice Arena hockey programs. York Ice Arena coaches will focus on teaching proper techniques needed for anyone interested in playing hockey. Rental equipment is available for beginning players, both boys and girls. So get on the ice, learn to skate, learn to play. Sign up now. Group skating lessons and beginners hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to yorkskate.com and click on program info. York Ice Arena, the coolest place in town.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Veteran coach John Zerfing takes his young Susquehannock Warriors in search of an upset at Eastern Friday night on the high school basketball game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. I'm Ron Ruman, inviting you to join Andy Bria and me for the action. The Warriors' fleet-up underclassmen must find a way to put more points on the board and contain sharpshooter Brogan Nicholas and the Golden Knights, who are fighting for a spot in the league and district playoffs. Susquehannock at Eastern Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I'm Red Lion Boys basketball coach Steve Schmale. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
And we are back on this edition, to close this edition, in fact, of Game Day with Game Time PA. Steve Neveroli, Teddy Feinberg, Matt Gould. And, I guess it's the time where we go around to what did we learn, although, my learning curve is a little off, so I'm not sure I learned much. But, what do you think, Ted?
Yeah, I don't know really what I grabbed hold of in this particular program, but I will say I was glad to have the band back together, like the full complement of players. I felt last week the rhythm was a little off. This week we were back in lockstep.
You just were glad to be off the hot seat, Teddy.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, well, let me ask you. You say the hot seat. I mean, did you actually like sit in my high chair here? And...
Oh yeah. I took the seat.
So, so I feel bad for you. You were me for a day.
Oh, there's no question.
Did you feel like old and
No, I felt young and spry.
Words I'm rarely called at this point in time, but nonetheless.
I was gonna say you gotta go eat ice cream and Spry to feel young sometimes.
I do know me and Matt definitely both recognized the orange blazer last night on ice. That's one thing I know.
Yeah, that was. I learned that Teddy embraces the yellow. He's wearing a big yellow fleece with a yellow mic. He's got a yellow hat. He's got a yellow manila envelope or a notepad. Or the yellow wiffle ball bat over in the corner.
I'm engulfed in yellow today. You only know that if you're watching the live stream.
We've said off the air he looks like Big Bird.
Yeah, Sprinkle said that.
Yeah,
never get over it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What'd you really learn? Is that what you learned?
That's what I learned. I'm not a good learner anymore. I've been out of school for over a decade, Steve. I turned off the learning button.
Over 1 decade.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I'm sorry. It's been like a couple centuries for you, right?
Sometimes it seems like it, funny man. It does. So. I learned that Matt can still be a jerk on the radio. No, I'm just kidding. No. Hey,
I'm quite sophomoric in my jerkiness.
Well, that's it makes you fun to be around. It's funny. Teddy and I had this conversation the other night, and I'll throw it out there for everybody here. He said when he first got here, he wondered if yours and my banter was for effect. Choreographed when he heard it in the office.
Like an NFL touchdown celebration?
Well, type thing. And, I said, no, that's us. I said, but nobody said there's not a more caring person than I know than Matt. I mean, the way you came up so big for me, during my struggles and that. And but it's funny, is it? Because it's what, it's what we are. And, one of the neat things with being able to do this show, the weeks you're able to join me, and, now that I'm missing some, the week I'm able to join you is, we can reflect that very same banter, over that. I mean, and Teddy, you can.
I think it's when the show's at its best.
You can attest to
when
this.
Matt's giving you a really hard time.
All that's missing is a little cubicle to separate us.
That's it. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, all that's missing is a little cubicle, because what people hear for these 2 hours when he and I are together is pretty much what we're like all the time, right?
I think so. They might be getting the rated PG version,
well,
but yeah,
of course.
there's no doubt.
I don't want to get thrown off the radio for but yeah, I mean, and that's a lot of fun. And but props to Brandon for kind of being, a little bit. I mean, Matt and I work together on a lot of projects, and even if we're not working together, we're talking about what we're working on together.
No question.
And that's, we kind of always know what the other one's up to. And, we formed this, within the office, and we extend it out. We text each other a lot, and there's a lot of communication between he and I. Brandon comes in because he works out of our Hanover office. He doesn't get in with us a lot during the office. He doesn't necessarily know what Matt and I are doing. And Brandon's able to come in and fit this show to a T. That's not as easy as people think.
He's transition. It's been a good transition.
It really has. He's done a great job. So, hey, I'm getting the signal, guys. I guess we have wrapped up another week.
Went by quick.
Yep, we'll check out our schedule next week. I believe I'll be here, but we'll have to see. Thanks for tuning in to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOIK.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOIK, York, Pennsylvania.